Welcome to Global Nexus. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. The China-Europe Railway Express was more than a network of tracks. It was the modern Silk Road, a steel artery pulsing with the lifeblood of global commerce. Stretching thousands of kilometers, it bridged continents, cultures, and economies, forging a direct link between the factories of China and the bustling markets of Europe. This railway slashed delivery times, connecting China's manufacturing heartlands to Europe's consumers in just 2 weeks, a fraction of the time it took by sea. For businesses, this speed was revolutionary, enabling them to respond to market demands with unprecedented agility. The impact was profound. The railway became a pillar of China's Belt and Road Initiative, breathing new life into inland provinces far from the coast. Cities once isolated from global trade now found themselves at the heart of a transcontinental supply chain. By 2024, the China-Europe Railway Express was moving over $25 billion in goods every year, nearly 4% of all EU-China trade. It became the backbone for just-in-time manufacturing, and a critical artery for fast fashion giants like Temu and Shein, who relied on its speed to keep up with ever-changing trends. For Europe, the railway meant reliable supply chains and a steady flow of goods. For China, it was a direct overland gateway to the West, bypassing congested sea routes and reducing dependency on maritime choke points. Yet, the very path that made the railway so efficient also made it vulnerable, crossing multiple borders, each with its own regulations and politics. The railway's success depended on a delicate web of international cooperation. Its smooth operation required seamless coordination among nations, customs officials, railway operators, and governments all working in harmony. This intricate dance was a marvel of modern logistics, but also a hidden fragility. In September 2025, that illusion of permanence was shattered. A single political crisis exposed how even the strongest economic links could snap at their weakest point, leaving trains stranded and containers abandoned. The world was about to learn a hard lesson. In an era of globalization, the ties that bind us are only as strong as the trust and cooperation that hold them together. On September 11, 2025, Poland made a dramatic move that reverberated across the continent. It abruptly closed its border with Belarus at the Małaszewicze-Brest rail junction, a decision that stunned both local communities and international observers. This crossing wasn't just any border, it was the heart of the China-Europe Railway's European operations, a vital artery pulsing with the flow of goods between East and West. An astonishing 90% of all rail cargo from China to the European Union passed through this single hub. Its sudden closure severed the main artery of Eurasian trade, leaving thousands of containers stranded and businesses scrambling for alternatives. The ripple effects were immediate. Supply chains were thrown into chaos, and the economic impact was felt from Warsaw to Shanghai. Citing urgent national security concerns, Poland responded to Russian-Belarusian military drills that simulated a nuclear strike on Polish soil, a chilling escalation that left the region on edge. At a tense press conference, Foreign Minister Sikorski declared the border would remain closed until the safety of Polish citizens could be guaranteed, making it clear that, for now, security would take precedence over trade and economic interests. The move came amid rising regional tensions and mounting U.S. pressure on Poland to adopt a tougher stance against China's ongoing support for Russia, further complicating the already fragile geopolitical landscape. Ironically, just a week earlier, Poland had celebrated the launch of a new direct freight service to China, hoping to cement its status as Europe's logistics gateway and a bridge between continents. Overnight, Poland transformed from a bustling trade hub into a formidable barrier, sending shockwaves through global markets and forcing companies thousands of miles away to rethink their supply routes. The message from Warsaw was unmistakable. In times of crisis, national security comes first, even if it means redrawing the map of global trade. The sudden shutdown of Małaszewicze, one of Europe's busiest rail freight terminals, sent shockwaves through global supply chains, rippling far beyond the Polish border and into the heart of international commerce. Trains loaded with billions of dollars worth of goods ground to a halt overnight, stranding cargo and upending business models built on the promise of 15-day delivery from China to Europe. The once reliable new Silk Road was suddenly paralyzed, leaving companies scrambling to adapt. For Poland, the consequences were immediate and severe. The country lost hundreds of millions in customs revenue, as the flow of goods that once passed through its borders dried up almost instantly. Meanwhile, logistics firms and PKP Cargo, the national rail freight operator, faced existential threats. Warehouses stood empty, and employees worried about their future as contracts were canceled and shipments rerouted. On the other side of the border, 10,000 Belarusian lorry drivers were trapped in limbo, unable to work or return home. For these drivers and their families, the political standoff had a stark and deeply personal human cost. Critical goods, including life-saving medicines, medical equipment, and essential manufacturing components, sat idle in warehouses, raising fears of shortages and production stoppages across Europe's factories and hospitals. E-commerce giants Temu and Shein scrambled to find alternative routes, warning customers of inevitable delays and higher prices as they pivoted to slower, more expensive shipping options. The ripple effects were felt by millions of online shoppers. The closure exposed just how vulnerable modern commerce has become, where a single choke point can bring the movement of goods to a standstill, impacting industries and livelihoods worldwide. A single political decision, made in a moment, could disrupt the flow of goods to millions, reminding the world how interconnected and fragile our supply chains truly are. Businesses and consumers alike faced a harsh lesson in the fragility of global trade, as empty shelves and delayed deliveries became the new normal. The world's supply chain was suddenly, painfully, out of sync, forcing everyone to confront the true cost of disruption in a tightly connected world. China's response was measured, no threats, just urgent diplomacy. Foreign Minister Wang Yi flew to Warsaw, urging dialogue and emphasizing the railway's mutual benefits. China stopped short of demanding the border reopen, acknowledging Poland's security concerns, while stressing shared economic interests. Poland stood firm. Security, not trade, was paramount. The EU backed Poland's right to act, while the US quietly welcomed the disruption to Chinese trade. The standoff revealed a diplomatic impasse. Security fears, clashing with economic ambitions, with little room for compromise. China hoped economic logic would prevail, but the crisis had already redrawn the map of trust. With the main rail artery cut, businesses scrambled for alternatives. Northern detours through the Baltics lacked capacity. The middle corridor, via Kazakhstan, the Caspian and Turkey, was longer, slower, and more expensive. Most companies reverted to sea freight, doubling delivery times and disrupting just-in-time manufacturing. Shipping costs soared as demand shifted back to container ships. The crisis sparked talk of radical alternatives, like the Arctic Polar Silk Road, but these remain distant prospects. For now, the dream of a seamless Eurasian land bridge was on hold. The shutdown forced a painful rethink of global trade routes. The world's logistics map was being redrawn in real time. Poland's move was pure geopolitics, a frontline NATO state sending a message to Moscow and Minsk: aggression won't be tolerated. The closure also served US interests, disrupting China's trade with Europe without direct American intervention. Poland asserted its influence within the EU, prioritizing security over collective economic interests, and exposing rifts between Eastern and Western members. The decision challenged the belief that economic interdependence prevents conflict. When sovereignty is threatened, even lucrative trade routes can be sacrificed. The silent trains at the border became a symbol. Security now trumps commerce. The era of frictionless globalization had ended with a screeching halt. The closure of the China-Europe Railway marks a turning point, exposing the vulnerability of land-based supply chains to geopolitical shocks. Businesses must now recalibrate, shifting back to slower, costlier sea routes and accepting longer delivery times. The dream of a seamless Eurasian land bridge has given way to a fragmented, risk-averse approach to global logistics. Supply chain diversification and friendshoring will accelerate, with Europe seeking to reduce reliance on distant, politically risky partners. For China, the crisis is a lesson in the limits of economic influence and the need for alternative routes. The silent trains at Małaszewicze are a warning. Prosperity depends on more than just building bridges. It requires political stability. In a world where trade routes are also front lines, resilience is the new watchword.